Working, or you could, all right.
Should be working right now.
Okay. If you want to go ahead and give your name and just general background for yourself.
George Hynes, originally from Somerville, Massachusetts. Date of birth 5/21/47, and served in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1969.
Okay. Did you join the service, or were you drafted, and how old were you?
I joined the service in '66, 19 years old.
Okay. Were you, what were you doing before you joined the service?
I was just working at a local business.
And you said what branch of the service you joined. How did your parents feel about you joining the service?
Came from a large family, so my parents were pretty glad to have extra room in the house.
Where did you do your basic training?
Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas.
Okay. Was there a culture shock on your part of meeting people from all over the country?
No, not really. I think living in the Boston area, we tend to get exposed to a lot of different cultures anyway. The guys from the South were a little bit different, but not very extreme.
Okay. Do you have any interesting stories from your basic training?
From basic training, well, it took place in San Antonio, Texas, and it was pretty hot. I went in April, and we, interestingly enough, didn't have to do a lot of physical training, because whenever the temperature got too hot, they would run a red flag up, and of course the Air Force was not very rigorous on physical, demanding of physical training. Anyway, we ended up mostly just marching and learning discipline from our drill instructors.
Okay. What was your military occupational specialty?
Actually, I had two. I was originally assigned as a heavy equipment mechanic, and with no prior training. And then I went to tech school in the middle of my enlistment for precision photo system repair. Mm-hmm. And after I had a brief training and assignment in that, then I was put back into heavy equipment mechanics to go to Korea with an advanced construction unit that was expanding the air base there because of the Pueblo incident.
Okay. Did you see any action, and if so, what zone of combat would it have been in?
No, I didn't see any combat action. My only foreign service was in Korea, and basically our presence in Korea at that point in the country's history was more as a security force.
Do you feel that the Korean War is a forgotten war, and if so, why?
From my exposure to history, I did not serve in the Korean War, but from my exposure to history, I think it was somewhat of a forgotten war, and I don't know whether it's because the Cold War kind of overtook things and pushed that into the background during my experience, or what, but I guess it was fairly traumatic for the guys who served there, and maybe for that reason, it wasn't as successful militarily as World War II, and just kind of got pushed into the background.
Were you happy to be serving during the Vietnam War?
Yes, my term of service was during the Vietnam era.
You said you weren't actually overseas during that period of time?
For the last 13 months, I was stationed in Korea.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Did you ever think that the American soldiers act racially superior to the Vietnamese when they were over there?
I didn't have any direct evidence of that. What I saw in Korea, there were some guys who tended to act superior to, people in foreign lands. But, for the most part, I think, the biggest majority of GIs were very tolerant and trying to be understanding of a different culture.
Did you ever think that it was just a civil war between the people, the same people?
In Vietnam, I think toward the end, it pretty much became apparent that it was. We were kind of seeing an evolution of that in Iraq now, too. And I think that's one of the things that our government doesn't necessarily do, is to understand the culture before they go in and deal with these kinds of issues in foreign countries.
You want to tell us about some acts of heroism that you saw while you were stationed in Korea?
Well, since we really weren't involved in a combat zone in Korea, I didn't really kind of see anything like that. I think, I consider all the guys who engaged in actual combat to be heroes. And when they go in and it most of the time not at their own choosing, and go in to do what they're discharged, that they're told to do. I think particularly now during the Iraq War, it's especially difficult seeing in the nightly news where it's so immediate. You see the impact, and then of course the media goes right to the families, and you see the immediate impact on the families. It's tough to see. So I think they're all heroes.
Yes, I agree. Did you have any ill feelings towards people at home that didn't actually decide to serve in the war?
No, I think that kind of thing is an individual thing. I personally resisted it first, and then was about to be drafted, and to avoid being drafted, I ended up going in the Air Force. I guess my patriotism overrode my concern about being engaged in the war.
How were you treated when you got home?
Personally, I was treated fine, and frankly, I never saw any general or individual acts of any kind of resentment against veterans. I'm not going to deny that it occurred, because there are plenty of stories about it, but I personally didn't experience any or see any.
Do you feel that Vietnam was a mistake?
I guess it's easy to kind of say in retrospect it was a mistake, and maybe our initial involvement was well intended, but I think when it escalated to the point that it did, and became obvious that we were embroiled in a civil war type of situation, I guess it was probably a mistake to escalate it. But I think initially the U.S. effort was well intentioned.
Okay. Did you receive any medals?
No, just the basic standard good conduct and service medals.
Do you have any regrets about your military service?
No, not really. I did not go immediately into college after high school, and I was just kind of out working in the workplace. And since I felt that the action in Vietnam started out well intentioned, I didn't have any hesitancy about serving. I wasn't crazy about the opportunity about the potential of serving in a combat zone, but I felt like I was satisfied and proud of the service I did commit to.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time today to do this.
Oh, sure. You're welcome. I hope it's a successful project for you.
Thank you.